One last confirmation. Can you see my screen? Then I'll get going. Then I'll get started.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect.
Yes, we can
Lovely. All right. So what I want to talk about today really is around how you future-proof yourself. And I guess what this means is around how the country is changing, the world is changing, the economy is changing, and how we operate in this economy, it is changing. And the point becomes, how do you make sure that when all these things change, you remain relevant? How do you make sure that when all these things change and as you grow in your career, you remain relevant for what's needed at the time and the space? And maybe I'll subtitle it Habits for Career Success, because I think in the context of this meeting, we are talking to people who are just started working or people who are already in their jobs. And the key part is what are the key habits that you can establish now so that in the future, you are still relevant and you are still, and you've got what it needs, what the future needs for us. So that's the broader thing I want to talk about. And I'm going to be pausing from time to time just to get reflections, from you on what I'm talking about. All right, so let me go to the next. So I want to start this out with a book I once read by Jim Collins that talks about, the title of the book is Good to Great. And I guess this book is talking about how companies that were good have put in some kind of effort to make sure that at the end they are great companies. Because I think he talks about how some people make the leap, whether it's in their careers or in their businesses or in the organizations they work for. There's people who are able to start average and then they make a leap and they end up great. And the point is that not everyone is able to move from being good to being great. There's a gray box, maybe that's what we must call it. There's something that happens in the process of your career growth that gives you a leap into becoming great. And today I want to unpack, I can see the hands that are raised. If you don't mind, please note your question. I'm only going to answer them at the end. So I think what I want to unpack today is how to move from being good to just being great. Because there's a leap that there's many people, for you to move from being good to being great is not something that happens by chance. There are specific things and disciplines that you put in place to make sure that you stand out. Today, Yes has given, Youth at Work has given you a job. And the question becomes, how do you make sure that you leap in your career and move faster so that you move from being good to being great? The key principles, or rather the fundamental qualifiers, let's call it that, to be good, or maybe to have the job that you have. Those are just the fundamental things that everybody has. Every good person, everyone on the line probably has all of these features that make us good and that make us have the jobs that we have today, or kind of the opportunities that you have. So those are almost like the game qualifiers. If we think about a tender, if a government takes out a tender, there are certain things that you must have to qualify for this tender. And then there are certain things that are tender winners, things that make you win the game, not only play the game. So to be good, those are the key things. You must have the skill, you must have the basic knowledge, you must have some of the key qualifications, you must meet your KPIs to be good. KPIs are the key performance indicators. To be good, you must finish the work that you've been given. And you must arrive at work on time. So those are just the key fundamental things to make you good. And unfortunately, many people think that these are things that make you great. There aren't things that make you great. These things are just qualifiers, things that get you into the game. But once you are in the game, what I want to talk about is that gray box. What are the order winners? What are the things that make you win this tender, even though all of you in this room are qualifying to be part of it? So what are the key things that are making you an order winner? And I think I want to talk about this because a lot of us are starting our careers. Some of us are working it's the first year or second year, or it's just been a couple of years working. I need us to unpack that box of order winners so that we can move from being great to move from being good to being great. I do trust that you still hear me and you are aligned and you can understand what I'm saying. Let me get confirmation that you are with me. Someone can unmute and tell me we are with you.
We are with you.
We are with you.
We're still with you, ma'am.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. All right. So today we're going to be talking about order winners. What moves you from good to great? Because I need all of us on this call, all 222 of us need to move from that box of being standard at work, need to move from that box of being average at work to being and move into that box of being great. So today I'll be just unpacking a couple of key things in that gray box. And I mean, I won't talk about every single thing. These are just the 5 key principles that I've learned in my journey, and I want to position those today. All right, 5 key things. Number 1, for you to move from being good to being great, for you to future-proof yourself, 1, you have to work from a place of deep conviction. You have to work from a place of deep conviction. Let me explain what I mean. Many times we get jobs and we just do the job because it's on the contract. You know, you just do the job because you're supposed to do it. What I'm positioning today is to tell you that that is not strength enough to take you to the levels of excellence that you need to be great. There is a sense of deep conviction that you must have about what you are doing, because deep conviction births a couple of things. Number 1, deep conviction births excellence. When you believe, this is really something I need to be doing, when you believe that this is really a solution that I must be putting forward, this is really a work that is necessary, there's a gap that I'm closing. If you are deeply convicted about this, then your effort towards it is not, you don't put effort because your boss says put effort. You put effort because you've got a deep conviction about what you are doing. So 1, it gives you excellence. Number 2, it gives you resilience. It's not moving from being good to being great takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. So, but when you are doing because your boss has told you to do it, you can only go so far. But when you start doing it because you are deeply convicted about it, then you are able to take the extra mile. Now, before I move from this point, I want to mention something important. I want to say you need to find conviction, because not all things do you have an immediate conviction about. I don't know if you are with me. There are certain things that we are instructed to do at work, and you might not have an immediate conviction about those things. And that is why my point is that find conviction. So go through what you need to do, think about it, and find value in it that is worth your hard work. Let me make an example. You might be a teacher, right? Let's say you are a teacher somewhere and you don't really like kids. I mean, they're great and all, but it's not your area of passion. I need you to start thinking and finding value in you being in these kids' lives so that it can birth conviction in your heart. Because sometimes the things that give you conviction are not always the first lines of your work, but it's things that are deeply embedded in you. For example, you might say that I don't like teaching, but I like connecting with kids, and I like making sure that the kids are well, you know, emotionally. I'm just trying to say you have to find passion points in your current job, because until you find a passion point, then it just becomes you ticking the box. Just maybe as an example, so there's the type, I work in one of the banks in South Africa, and the type of work that I do is the type that I had to go. There's no monetary value in it. When people look at my type of job, okay, my type of segment, it's not a segment that has got money. It's not a segment that is popular and has got all the fleece and things that people perceive as success. I had to go and find passion and find conviction about why I must be here. And I guess this is why, even though from a money point of view, the segment is not a segment fancy, you know, but for me, I found a reason to do it, and that reason is what makes me not sleep at night and keep pushing. So number 1, find conviction. if it's not something that's obvious when you go in, you're going to have to find conviction so that you can work from a place of conviction. Before I move to the second point, can someone let me know that you are still with me, and then I'll move?
We're still with you, Faith.
I'm still listening.
Awesome. All right. So number one, lovely. You work from a place of conviction. So maybe my first assignment to you now is that can you go find purpose for being in the work that you are doing today? Purpose for being. So what's the real thing that I'm bringing here besides the contract that you signed with your employer? Because this births excellence, this births resilience, and this births a passion that keeps you going. There's a quote that I like before I move to the second point, a quote I like. It says, the goal is not to be famous or rich. The goal is to constantly add meaningful impact and a value that will outlast you. Yabona Apa, you are not just ticking the box and doing what your boss says. Yes, you must do that. But here you are imparting value that will outlast you. And until you find that passion point and until you find that conviction, then work just becomes another waste of time. All right, let's go to the second one. Point number 2, for you to the habit you need to build for career progress. Number 2 is being deliberate about investing in yourself. Mamelan girls, the word deliberate, I put there intentionally. You know how when we were younger, the deliberacy around personal development was on our parents. It is your parents' responsibility to be deliberate about you going to school. That's why it's your parent that forces you to go to school. But when we get to this age, no one is going to be upset at you if you're not studying. No one is going to ask you anything. In fact, you just are going to stay where you are, and I mean, life is going to continue and time is going to move. But in Zamgotu, you are not forced by anyone. That's why I put something there that says you are the one who has to now be deliberate about it. The other part of the word deliberate means you have to go out of your way to actively pursue it. Right? There's things that come to you as you are sitting and doing nothing, but there's things that you must go and actively pursue. Personal development. For me, in the past couple of years, I've been doing a couple of courses, and I'm noticing the change and the difference and the sharpening of my skill that has come from being deliberate in improving yourself. So if you need a degree, perhaps think about how do you take this further? You know, how do you read more books? How do you get more involved in communities that are more developmental? So it's connections, it's academic improvement, it's reading books. You know, one of the things I was talking about is how social media has unfortunately stolen so much of our time. And if you just switch 1 hour of your social media usage per day, just 1 hour per day, and use that to develop yourself as a person, I promise you, by the end of the year, when you're leaving the job that you're in, or when you're moving from the job that you're in, you will have developed yourself as a person. So I think you must be very deliberate. Academically, and maybe that's a question, academically, what can you do now to become better? What course can you go and register for? And I mean, I know many people will say, oh, I don't have money to go to school. And I mean, it's a fair point. It's valid. When you don't have money to go to school, there's a limitation in that end. But the truth is that there's also courses that you can do without paying. It's just that if you are not deliberate to find them, if you're not deliberate to literally go online and Google and say courses about admin management, courses about primary school teachers. I'm just trying to say you have to be deliberate about finding a place to build yourself up. So that's the second key point. Development doesn't come by chance. It's something that you have to pursue. So academically, what are you doing? And the good thing is that we are all young in this call, just based on what I was hearing from the organizer. We are all young in this call. So we don't yet have big families, for example, to manage, and maybe some of us do, but a lot of us don't have big families to manage and big things to do. We've got ourselves to develop. So I want you to not waste the time you have now and rather invest in developing yourself. So read books, you know, get into forums that are developmental as opposed to chilling namajita, you know, chilling and just doing nothing. You're going to have to be deliberate about it. And I think the operative word here is deliberate. Ask questions. Ask people, what can I do? Talk to your youth at work leaders. Ask them, is there any course that you know about that I can do online, so that you are developing yourself as you go along? There's a quote as well that I love on this point. It says, when I was young, I wanted to change the world. Now I am wiser. I want to change myself. So personal development is what changes and improves you, because we know that we can't change this world, but we can change and sharpen the effect that we have on this world. Awesome. I'm going to open for questions and comments at the end. So even as you're listening, please note whatever comment you have or whatever question you have. I'm happy to entertain that right at the end. But on point number 2, you're going to have to be deliberate about building yourself up. That way you move from being standard to being great. Great people didn't wake up like that. Great people were deliberate and consistent in their personal development. And because of that, it affects how they do the work and the quality of their work. And that's why today it's great. So it's not umlingo, it's not abatandazi, it's literally how much you are able to apply yourself to personal development and sharpening your own skills. Let me pause here. Please give me a comment if you are with me, and then I'll move to the next point. Are you with me?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Lovely.
Yes, we are here.
Lovely. I'm going to take, I can see the hands that keep coming up. I'm going to take questions right at the end. All right, number 3. Actually, sorry, before I move on this one, there's an important point I'm seeing here that I forgot to mention. Personal development also shouldn't be scattered. You need to determine the shape and form that you need to take and be deliberate around developing that part about who you are. And maybe we can talk about that a bit later. Number 3, on how to move from being good to being great, you have to cultivate a culture of discipline. Now, discipline is the ability to stick to your decisions. The decisions that you have made, stick to those decisions, even if there's a difficulty therein. Let me give an example. There's people that have decided that, you know what, this year, I'm going to gym, I'm going to exercise, this year, I'm going to go to the gym. That's a decision you made. But it takes discipline for you to sustain that decision. Today, there's many people that when January was starting, they said they're going to gym, but they haven't been to the gym just until today. They've not stepped their foot on the gym. There's other people who talk about, this year, I'm going to save money, I'm going to save money. They make a decision. But without discipline, you aren't able to sustain that decision. And unfortunately, people can't progress in their lives because progress doesn't come from the decisions you have made. Progress comes from the ability for you to remain honest to those decisions, and it takes discipline to do that. Progress comes from you being able to make a decision and say, I'm going to arrive early at work. After making that decision, you have the self control and the discipline to keep faithful to that decision. Many youth, many young people amongst us have got great ideas, have got, you know, groundbreaking ideas, but because they don't have the discipline to keep to those decisions, those decisions that's just fade away, because decisions, you know, the decision doesn't just become because you've decided. You decided, and after deciding it, you must have a discipline to keep faithful to it. So if you are saying that I'm going to start going to the gym, that's a decision. But after the decision has been made, there's a discipline that must be applied. You must insist on making live the things that you have agreed with yourself on. And unfortunately, many dreams, if I can say to us, let's all talk about the dreams we have. We all have beautiful dreams. We all have dreams that could change this country. But it's not the dream that's going to change your life. It's not the dream and the decision that's going to move you from one level to the other. What's going to move you is an ability to sustain the decision you've made by discipline. Discipline to behaviors that must change. If you're feeling like you need to be ahead in your department, there's a certain discipline you must adopt around working ethic, around getting to work, around stepping up, and that is sustained by decision, by discipline. The last piece on this one, there's a person I was listening to the other day. He's talking about how there's certain disciplines that when you start them with discipline, with a strict decision that even if I don't feel like it, I must do it. He says a lot of dreams are failing because people do things that they feel like doing. If you don't feel like waking up early, you don't, because you don't feel like it. If you don't feel like working extra hours, you don't, because you don't feel like it, and you do it when you feel like it. I'm just trying to say we need to move ourselves from doing things based on how we feel, but do things based on the decisions that you have made and the discipline to keep faithful to those decisions. I promise you, when you do that, you will quickly have that leap that moves from people who are just meeting their KPIs, people who are just meeting the targets at work, to people that are delivering exceptionally beyond the target. I hope this is quite clear, but it's quite important. Your decisions in Danzakaya is not what you need. What you need, in addition to your decisions, is the discipline to remain faithful to those decisions. Once again, there's a quote that I've seen. It says, when you combine the culture of discipline with an ethic entrepreneurial thinking, then you get the magical alchemy of excellent performance. That means there's people who have got great ideas. Those entrepreneurial thinkings, those are great ideas, and ideas to solve the world, and ideas to go, and you've got a dream and a vision and a future that you're building towards, but that alone will not take you there. What takes you there is a combination of these entrepreneurial thinkings plus discipline. And many people think, why? Because now I also have these visions. The reason they're not happening is because you have not combined them with disciplines in order to reach those dreams. So I think number 3, is this number 3 or number 4? This is number 3. Number 3, you have to build disciplines and remain faithful to those disciplines, because that's what's going to take you from good to great. There's certain standards that have been set for us, just standards. And if you don't have the discipline, sometimes you can't meet even the average standard. Oh, the room just got black. Please give me a second. I just want to switch on the light again. All right, I'm back. I was talking about how the standards that have been set, but if you don't have the discipline, man, of commanding yourself and not doing things when you feel like doing them. Command yourself to wake up at a certain time. Build that discipline. Command yourself to go to the gym, because some of the things that you need to do, you won't feel like it at the time, but they're very necessary to birth the thing that you're trying to get to. So you're going to have to learn to command yourself. And whether I like it or not, and whether I feel like it or not, and I promise you, Danzakaya, that's what's going to take you from good to great. I think, let me move on this point. If you are with me, please let me know, then I can move. Just say we are with you, and then I'll move.
We are with you.
We are with you.
Awesome. Lovely. Lovely. All right.
We are with you.
Perfect. Let's go to the next one. Number 4. Number 4. So 1, we've said you must work from a place of conviction. And we said you have to find conviction in what you are doing. Find a reason for being there beyond the contract that you have signed, because that's what's going to birth excellence. That's what's going to birth resilience. That's what's going to birth a passion for it. You must find conviction, deep conviction about what you're doing. And that calls for some kind of a meditation about you. But lo msebenzi endiwenzayo, yintoni entle engavela apha. In this work that I'm doing, what beauty can come out of here, and be convinced about it besides the salary that you get, because salary will just get you to get to work at 8 and then it happens for already you want to leave, because salary is a weak conviction. It's a very temporal conviction. What it has to be deep. It has to be connected to who you are and the value you want to bring. So you have to find that in your work. Number 2, you must be deliberate in investing in yourself. So think about going to school. Think about reading books. Think about joining communities of people, that are having discussions about the economy, discussions about how to move your business. There's a lot of those forums. You must join those forums. Even if you've got nothing to say, but just sit amongst great minds. And as you sit amongst great minds, your mind learns as well how to think. So that's investing in yourself. And then the third part we're talking about now is the culture of discipline. Your goals are not enough. Your goals will be defeated by ill discipline. If you don't have discipline, your goals will just remain that. But if you have discipline to wake up at the time you need to finish the work that you need to go to gym if you need to, etc., etc., that is what's going to combine with your goals to move you from good to great. The last part. You must have a balance between IQ, EQ, and AQ. I'm going to pause on this one. I also want to hear from people on the line. I'm going to pause on this one. I want to hear, does anyone on the line know what IQ is? If you know what IQ is, can you please unmute and tell me what it is? I'm going to go to EQ and AQ just now, but IQ layer. Does anyone know what IQ is? I'll pause and allow you to speak.
Hello.
Yes, hi, I can hear you.
Oh, yes.
All right, can I ask that we all make sure that we are on mute? Can we all make sure that you are on mute unless you are answering the question? So the question is, I think there was a gentleman that was speaking. What is IQ? Over to you, sir. Back to you.
IQ is intelligence quota, if I'm not mistaken.
Say that again, I missed that.
IQ is intelligence quota.
Okay, yes, that's right. That's right. IQ is intelligent quotient. Let me ask someone else, what is intelligent quotient? Anyone on the line who knows this? What is intelligent quotient?
Okay.
Can I answer?
Yeah, sure, please.
It is the ability to assess someone's intelligence, that being if they are able to apply a certain level of knowledge and skills.
Okay, so it's about intelligence. It's about knowledge. Yes. It's about skill. I like that. That's a very good point. So intelligence, knowledge, skill. Got it. Let me allow the last person. What is IQ? Someone else to explain it to me. Last person.
IQ, from what I've seen, is usually the ability to recognize patterns based on the test.
Okay. Ability to recognize patterns. All right. Love it. Absolute question, absolute answers. That's very correct. Thank you so much for those contributions. So number 1 is IQ, intelligence, skill, ability to recognize patterns. So it's a mental skill and ability. Let's move then to EQ. Who knows what EQ is? Can someone on the line let me know?
Hi, can I answer?
Yeah, please go for it.
According to me, EQ is emotional intelligence or emotional quotient.
Okay, that's correct. That's correct. Thank you so much for that contribution. It's emotional quotient. Let me ask someone else to explain as well to me what this is. What is emotional quotient?
Hi, everyone.
Yes, hi.
I'd like to believe that emotional intelligence is being able to be aware of your emotions and how to react, when to react to certain situations, and to just be cognizant of your emotions, that not everything needs a reaction or how to react to some type of a situation.
Lovely, lovely.
Thank you.
That's it. Being aware of emotions and how to react, where to react. Perfectly said, perfectly said. Let me allow the last person to please explain to us as well what they understand by emotional quotient.
Okay, so I'll just be adding from what the second individual said. So apart from being aware of your emotional intelligence, you also need to understand it so that you can manage it in a positive way. And that also helps to relieve stress.
Absolutely. Precise. You guys should have been presenting here with me. Precise. Those are exact, but I'll give further details just now. But thank you so much for all of those people who contributed. Now let's move to the last one. AQ. Can someone unmute and tell me what AQ is? So there's IQ we have spoken about, IQ, and there's EQ, the emotional one, and there's AQ. So can someone unmute and let me know what does AQ stand for? I'm listening.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, hi.
It's adversity quotient, so it's the ability to overcome, it's ability to bounce back or being resilient, I guess. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Ability to bounce back, adversity quotient. Love it. Someone else?
Hi, everyone.
Yes, hi.
I think it basically means that, or a measure of how one can endure adversities or challenges in life.
Got it. Got it. Adversities and how you're able to withstand those. Thank you so much, sir. Let me allow the last person, then we can move. What's AQ?
Sorry, mine is more of a question because I feel like I'm gonna forget more than. Yeah, I just wanted to ask.
Please go for it.
I have, but I just wanted to ask: is there I don't want to say necessarily a difference, or other like similarities between EQ and or do they go hand in hand? If it makes sense, because if you are emotionally aware, then it means you are able to overcome the adversities of life or whatever you're going through. So I'm just trying to find out if there's a balance or they complement each other in a way, or what happens if one lacks, does the other substantiate the other?
Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. I've got your question. And I think your question actually leads me to my point on this one. So remember what we are saying. You must balance the three. So if you've got IQ and don't have EQ and AQ, you're an imbalanced person. Have you guys met people who are smart but rude? Smart people, but they just can't deal with other people. Okanye, have you met people that have got a big heart, beautiful heart, but they just can't do the work? They just don't understand the work. So that's why I'm saying it's important to make sure that you balance up intellectual quotient, emotional quotient, and adaptability quotient. So let me go through the, so thank you for that question. It's leading me exactly to my point on this slide. You see now my slide is intimidated by you guys. It's not moving. All right. Intelligent quotient, so it represents our level of cognitive intelligence. So exactly what the other speakers have said. This is your ability to think. And I guess things like going to school, learning this degree, it builds up your intellectual quotient, right? So I think it was absolutely correct what the guys had said. Emotional quotient, absolutely correct as well, what you guys had put forward. This is the ability to understand and manage your emotions and those around you. So it's not only managing yourself, but also an ability to connect with the other people that are around you. There's people who've got a lot of intelligence, but have zero emotional quotient. And you can see how those people, they end up just working on the side alone, and they are because sometimes when you work, you need other people to make it move. But if you aren't able to work with other people using emotional quotient, then you end up being an island on your own. So the last question was quite important, that you have to balance your intelligence with your ability to relate with people. There are people that will say, I'm not a people's person. I want to tell you, Slava Sam, that for you to move, especially in these corporate corridors, in these corporate spaces, you are going to have to learn how to relate. Not only are you going to have to learn how to do the work, but it takes people to move from one level to the other. It doesn't take only your intelligence. So remember, your intelligence is what got you the job. So Nyani, you finished the degree, you got the career, you got the job because you've got the certificate. But what moves you from one level to the other is not only your intelligence, but your your ability to connect with other people. In these corporate spaces, we see that there are people who don't have much over there, but they are very good with connecting with people. And because of that, they end up moving. They end up moving from one level to the other. So if you to be balanced, you're going to have to do your intelligent quotient and your emotional and those take deliberate development as well. Remember that point we're talking about, be deliberate about self-development. You're going to have to learn how to connect with people. It's not about am I an introvert or an extrovert. There's an ability to connect with people, even if you're an introvert, to meaningfully connect with people. So I think I want to really encourage us not to go to these jobs and be smart people that can't connect with people. Neither must we go in to be connecting people that can't do the job. So it's a balance, an equal balance of two. And I promise you that's going to take you from one level in your career to the next. It's going to speed up your growth. Intelligent quotient by a mover, but it's not as fast as it would be if they were able to speak and connect with others. The last part is adaptability. So I think someone said agility, so the ability to resist to resist challenges. That is true. I think in this case now I was just talking about adaptability. Now adaptability is your ability to welcome change and your ability to adjust as change comes through. The truth is that life changes and it changes very quickly. We are changing and changes very quickly. So your ability to move up. So for example, at work currently, there's a big change that's happening in my space. And I think it challenged me a lot in the first couple of weeks. And now I'm in a place that says, okay, how do we strengthen my adaptability quotient so that I make sure that even when things are changing, I'm able to adjust my strategies. I'm able to adjust my outlook. I'm able to adjust my perspective so that when things change, as they will, you are able to remain standing. So it's the intelligence, it's the ability to connect to people, and the ability to be able to change and move around. There's people that still want to do into a sense 10 years ago because they just can't manage change. So adaptability quotient becomes a very important one. There's a status I want, Rose, or I'm almost going to move from this point, then I go to the last one, and then I'm going to open for questions. There's a statement I once wrote on LinkedIn. I'm going to go to it just now. So I was saying you must be stubborn yet flexible. And that's the ability to combine all of these. So now, so I think if I could just read it, it says, if you are not stubborn, you will quickly give up on valuable yet difficult experiments. But if you're not flexible, you will also pound your head against the same wall and won't see different solutions to a problem that you've been trying to solve for a while. So the paradox of excellent leaders is a sublime balance between stubbornness and flexibility. So it's all of those balances between all of those key things. So that's the fourth one. Let me move on to the last one. I don't have much time. I'm going to move to the last one just for a few minutes, and then I'm going to pause and allow us to ask questions. I've been talking for a while. All right, the last part is grit. To move from one level to the other, to move from good to great, you're going to have to develop grit. Inkani. That's what we say in Xhosa. I went then and I found the actual dictionary definition of what grit is. It says it's the passion and perseverance for the long term. Long term. It's passion and perseverance for the long term. There are certain short-term battles we face. There are certain challenges in the short term that we face. The challenges as today. And if you aren't able to withstand the short-term challenges for the purpose of the long-term journey, then you will never go anywhere. So grit is one of the things. even if it's difficult now, okusalayo, this is where I'm going. Yinkani of saying, even if it's difficult, even if I'm having challenges, but I had made up my mind that that's where I need to go to. So I'm going to be adaptable and find other ways to get there, even if things are changing and even if things are difficult. So grit is a very important thing. There's people who give up too quickly. There's people who give up too easily. There's cases now where you would go and go to, there's people who would apply for something and go to a no. And when they say no, then you sit back, apply, no. And that's going to be your story. Grit means going back and applying again. And then you go back and apply again. And then you go back and apply. It's just keep going and withstanding the current challenges for the purpose of the longer, longer journey. There's certain difficulties that you're going to face. I can promise you that. There's certain difficulties you're going to face in your career, in your progress. And if you don't have inkani, at the end of the day, I'm going to get to that great. And I'm going to move from being good. You're going to have to, you're going to give up too easily and too quickly. So I do want to encourage us that we have to stay commitment regardless. No matter how easy or difficult it is, you're going to have to remain committed. Regardless how difficult it is to do the job at the time. At this point, I think for me and my team, there's a lot of grit that's being called out of us because there's a couple of changes that are happening. And if you don't have that grit to sustain, to endure the short-term pain for the purpose of the long-term benefit, then you're going to miss out on a lot of growth that you could have had if you had grit. Let me close it off with this statement, and then I'll pause. I've been talking for a lot. There's a statement that I love. It says, grit and resilience are the secret to long-standing career success. Long-standing. This is an ability to sustain a short period of pain for the purpose of the long-standing success. I'm also a Christian. I think as they were introducing me, they did tell you that I'm a pastor. So I want to also quote Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16. It says, the godly may trip 7 times, but they will get up again. So it's an ability of falling and getting up, of moving and of failing and trying again. It's not about giving up too easily and too quickly. I want to denounce and declare that all of us on this call are going to move from being good to being great. We've got a big potential sitting here in this call amongst all the 495 of us, but it's not chance. It's your ability to do all of those 5 things that will move you from being good to being great. I thank you so much. Thank you for paying attention and listening. For a whole hour, you've been listening. Thank you. And I want to hand back to the host for this session.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think for me personally, I've been blown away from really needing to move from being good to being great. And I hope that every youth has been motivated and really took those tips so that they make sure that they are successful. So I'm not sure at this point, guys, is there anyone who has a question? Any questions, guys? You can raise your hand, you can unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you. You may proceed.
Yeah, I just want to find out from Faith. When it comes to
Oh, sorry, we lost you there. All right, there's another hand.
me.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out Faith regarding entrepreneurship. Can she share with us some of the challenges that she faced and how she overcame them? Specifically, she must be based on business. I'm asking as a business person. Thanks.
Over to you, Faith. Sorry, you're muted, Faith.
No, I was saying, do you mind if I take maybe 3 and then I'll just answer all of them?
Okay, that's not a problem. All right. We have another hand. Mulapisi, do you have a question?
Yes, how are you?
We're good, thank you.
I'm good. My name is Molapisi Amuhelang. I am with Moretile DTDC. So I wanted to ask about intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, and adaptability quotient. Ne? Yes, so the question is like, how does one know whether they are intelligently quotient or emotionally quotient or adaptably quotient?
Okay, thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take, do we have another question? Anyone else? Okay, Amatle, you can unmute.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Amatle.
I have a question. I want to ask Faith. When you start a business and you see the obstacles in the business, how to overcome the obstacles and challenges.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for your question. Are we taking the last one, Faith? There's 2 more
Okay,
hands.
fine. It's okay, we can.
Okay, Bonyenkosi, do you also have a question?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. I don't have a question necessarily, but I just want to thank Faith for such a motivation, and thank you for the book she shared. I just downloaded it, so thank you very much. That's all I just wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, Bonyenkosi. All right, Yonelisa, do you also have a question or some message to Faith?
Yes, I do have a question to
Okay.
say. I wanted to ask with regards to when one applies themselves, in terms of self-development and self-investment, being deliberate, how do they ensure that they also don't burn themselves? I think it goes to also with the question of rather the point 4. How do you now try to balance things out where you don't want to I don't want to say overextend yourself, but as well as trying to reach your goals? Yeah, I think that's my question. How does one find the balance of not overextending themselves, but also wanting to overachieve?
All right, thank you so much, Yonelisa. All right.
I love this question.
Can you
Love,
take
love, love,
one?
love.
Can you take one for Kujo? Just one more. For Kujo, Faith.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Yes, hello everyone.
Yes,
Hi, Kujo.
My question is around those 3 what you call it? Quotients. Yeah, quotients. Yeah, so I saw the first one is IQ, the second one is EQ, and the third one is AQ. So how does one sort of like balances the 3? Because you find that some of us, let's say, the first one, which is IQ, I'm sort of like 80%. However, on the other hand, I'm very low. So how does one get to balance the 3? Like, what is the strategy in terms of making sure that you have the balance between the 3?
Okay, thank you for your question, Kujo. Okay, we'll take the last one, guys. So
how many
then
questions
we're moving.
Oh, okay. I think let's have the first round for questions, and we'll have the second round. Please note the question on the comment section. Okay, thank you.
Do you mind if, so I think a bit of my challenge is that I need to be somewhere at 1:15 because we're supposed to be here only until 3. Do you mind if let me take the other one so that I can just do all of them?
Okay, this, I think you can ask your question.
Hi, Faith. I have a
Yes,
question.
hi.
You said something. You said something about like transacting, like there's a development of in your work of some, let me say, or technologically or something. I don't know what is it. So I wanted to find out from you, how do one keep on being on that space or in those opportunities? How do you sustain and retain those opportunities?
Please ask again. I think I missed the question.
I'm saying you said something about there's a development in your workspace that can affect your career or your work. So I wanted to find out, how do one sustain those opportunities and retain the work or your job?
Okay, got it. Leaders, if you can please allow me, I'm in a certain meeting room. Other people need to come in now. Can you please give me 2 minutes to just walk out to the next room, and then I'll sit down and connect and put on my video again and answer the questions. But I've taken all of those questions. Give me 2 minutes, please, to go find another room. Can you do that?
Okay, no problem. Okay, guys, I think in the meantime, I can just share the attendance link, and then this will also help us track and really manage your feedback. So it's important that we also get your feedback as to today's session. So please do, whenever you receive the link on the chats, just click on it and complete it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So, okay, I'm back. Thank you so much for your patience. Let me take the questions. I think there's about 6 of them. The first question was around business growth and how you manage business growth. So I think the first key thing on this one is that you're going to have to accept that there is a season of there might be a season of slow growth, and you're going to have resilience through that season. Number one. Number two, you have to make sure that you are selling not what you like, but you are selling something that the customers like. That helps you because it almost validates why people must buy. I think what I see is many business people, what they do is that they sell solutions that they feel are great and aren't able to adjust that solution to fit the customer needs. So I think the first part is that accept the fact that you might have a bit of a slow growth, a season of slow growth, and just be patient with that. Keep moving. Keep putting out those marketing efforts, keep improving your business, because you will have a season where you're growing slow and then the business is going to grow. I think a lot of people give up where you're still in that season of slow growth. So you're going to have to just keep having resilience for that season. But number two, make sure that your solution is solving a customer need. Many businesses are businesses that are solving business owner needs. They're not aligned accurately to what the customer needs. So I think you're going to have to review, or I've learned that one, there's a slow growth season. Two, you're going to have to keep revisiting your solution to make sure that it meets the customer need. If it does, then customers are, without begging them, they're going to come because your solution is fitting for their need. And I think the third part that I learned is that you're going to have to make efforts to market the business. A lot of people have got great ideas, but they are not spending on marketing. It's a good line item to spend on it. If it's people that are able to take your business onto this, for example, now in my business, I had people that were able to give me slots on radio, 702, even an SABC, etc. I was paying for that, but it gave me the visibility that I need. Today, even if you go and Google Faith Mneno, you'll find me on a whole lot of these articles. You would have heard me on 702, on 947, etc., etc. I'm just trying to say spend on marketing because it puts your solution out there, but also make sure that your solution is not solving your problem, but is solving the problem of the customer, and also accept that you're going to have a season of slow growth. So maybe that's the first part. In fact, can I combine this one with another question that was asked about business obstacles? Because I think it's there's a question that someone asked about business obstacles and how you overcome those. I think it's the same 3 points. Conviction is important, and touch basing with your customers is important. Resilience is important, and where you spend also becomes quite important. The second question was around the measures for IQ, EQ, and AQ. Now, IQ can be measured because it's about what mark you got in the test. That's a typical measure of IQ. But EQ and AQ are not things that we are able to technically measure. But they've got outcomes that we can see, and those outcomes infers that you've got a low score. For example, EQ, your emotional quotient, your ability to relate to people, the fact that you are constantly fighting with people, the fact that you can't connect with people gives us an indication that your EQ is quite low. Adaptability, your inability to change strategies, your inability to change plans when things change, give us an indication that you've got a low EQ. So I'm just trying to say there might not be technical quantitative measures of AQ and EQ, but the outcomes give a reflection. And this is why it's important that you've got people that can read your outcomes and reflect to you. What do I mean? Sometimes I was born when you don't see yourself. That's why you need people, friends that will be honest with you to say, friend, why are you fighting with everyone of late? And that probably shows you that there's an issue there by EQ. Or adaptability, how well you're able to move from this to this. So it's important to have people as well in your life that are surrounding you, that are able to give you honest feedback about yourself, because EQ and AQ can't be measured technically, but they are measured by the outcomes in your life. So that's at least to IQ, so measure a percentage in the exam. Let me go to the third one. The third one was around, okay, it's the one that I've tackled around the business obstacles. The fourth one was around self-development, how to make sure that you keep pushing, but you don't burn out. Sissy, that is a very important question. I've been through a phase where I was doing the MBA at school. I'm running businesses on the side. I'm head of emerging market at work. I'm a pastor at church. I'm also a sister and a daughter. It was just a lot. So I was constantly pushing myself and I didn't have time to rest. And until I got to a point where I burnt out. I went to my psychologist, and my psychologist had to call everyone to say, she actually called the university I was in at the time to say, guys, can you give her just a month or so to restabilize? Spoke to my boss to say, guys, can you give? I'm just trying to say, you don't want to get to that extreme case of burnout. And what I learned is that you have to set rest as you must have the discipline of resting. The problem is that, Tina, we rest when we are tired. And that's not sustainable, because sometimes when you're tired and you need to rest, there's many things to be done. But what I'm learning and what I'm developing now is to decide that once a quarter, I must have a weekend away, right? Once a quarter, I must have time and God, but you know what, this maybe even if it's longer than a weekend, couple of days, I go away to unwind and rest. So I'm just trying to say, you're going to have to build the habit of rest as opposed to resting when there's an opportunity, because there will never be an opportunity to rest. There's always going to be something to be done. And I think the problem is that we always rest when there's an opportunity, and opportunity will never come unless you make it. So I think now what I've learned, in fact, not even this once a quarter thing, even in the evenings, you must decide that this is my time to wind down. If I'm not done with work, I'm deciding that at a certain time, I'm going to stop. This is to ensure your longevity, because if you rest when there's an opportunity to rest, you will never rest because there's never an opportunity. So I'm just trying to say, for this one, for you to be involved in all these things, and I'm encouraging you to be involved. So I like how you're saying you want to do this and that, go for it, Mdana Zekai, do this and that, but you must embed the discipline of rest in your schedule, not rest when you have an opportunity to, because you will never have an opportunity unless you make the opportunity to rest. So for the sake of longevity, rest must be a discipline, not just something that presents to you when it does, because it never will. Let me go to I think this is the other one was how to develop and balance yourself. I think I got the question, but my 3 reflections on that is that number 1, for development, you're going to have to be cognizant of who you are becoming. You must be aware of the shape that you are taking. For example, there was a phase where I was becoming a smart yet rude person. There was a phase where I was becoming a smart yet arrogant and dismissive person. And you're going to grow in that behavior unless you are self-cognizant, unless you do personal reflections, unless you pause and say, what shape am I, who am I becoming? And am I comfortable to become this person or to become this? So I think the first key thing is the discipline of self-reflection. From time to time, just pause and think about yourself. Ne? And I think when you do that, then you start learning that, Faith, you're going to have to for me, it was EQ that I needed to build. You're going to have to, you might have IQ, but you're going to have to start learning how to connect with other people. So then that means I had more effort trying to learn and connect. And I think now, at least I've got a bit of a hold on it, an ability to connect, but otherwise you wouldn't have gotten to that realization if you were just moving and you're not pausing to reflect on yourself. Second thing I want to talk about is around allowing other people to also watch over you, or to also give you reflections that you can take. Now, not everybody must reflect. You must not take everything that everyone says. People say all kind of random things. So you can't take everything, but you must have mentors and people that you trust that are in your circle so that they can observe you, that are in your circle so that they can watch you do your normal everyday job and then come and give you reflection so that you can be cognizant of the things you're doing well and the things you're not doing well. Because as the other shortfallings, we don't see them. It's only other people who see them. But if you've got a circle of people that you trust, and I mean, don't listen to everyone. People have got a lot of perspectives. Select people that you trust and keep going to them just for them to reflect on how you are. The last piece, I'm almost done. The last piece is being deliberate about fixing those things. When you have done your personal reflections, when your mentor or your coach has done your personal reflections, then you're going to have to be deliberate about changing those things. Is it in Xhosa we say is quote, but the point is that when you are used to doing something, you will automatically just do it without you thinking about it. So you're going to have to be deliberate about changing those behaviors. I'm answering the question around how to develop and how to make sure that you balance. You reflect, allow people to reflect, and be deliberate about making those changes. I think I've covered the questions. I don't know if there's anything else you guys can let me know.
I think also, Faith, if you can also perhaps provide your details as to maybe the youth, if they want to get hold of you, so that if maybe you can be able to answer some of the questions directly to them.
Okay, so I think you can please contact me on any social media. So okay, maybe let's go for 2. You can either contact me on a social media platform on Facebook, Faith Mneno. You'll find me there. Send me an inbox, then we can start chatting. Number 2, you can chat me on Instagram, Faith Mneno. Let's connect there. Number 3, you can check me on LinkedIn, Faith Mneno. Send me an inbox, and then we can start talking.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Faith, and really for the youth to really making sure that they attend. And I believe that every information that was shared was really fruitful. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure if there's anything from Yanga, if you're still here. And yeah, Yanga, anything else that you'd like to add before we close off? Okay, so yes, please do also let us know if you have any other questions, general queries, please guys, you can WhatsApp us. You can also send us an email to info@sathwork.com. All right, and thank you so much, and bye everyone. Hopefully we'll see you on our next session. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello.